What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is a long overdue video that honestly I do not want to be doing, but I have to do it. Especially for my videos and everything to make sense. This is the closure of my journey to the Olympic Games and my final vlog of this series. Yeah, I took a lot of time to myself after finding out, I didn't make the cut. It has been a whole 11 days before I've been able to talk about it out loud. This is very hard. I feel like sometimes doing YouTube and stuff, it dehumanizes you a little bit. But yeah, I am human. I have feelings. I have had to deal with this, not alone, but by myself. And it really sucks. But anyways, let me get into this video. I just want to talk about basically what happened because I stopped vlogging. I was not able to vlog after nationals. I guess depression kind of hit, sadness kind of hit. The reality of the possibility that I wouldn't make it to the Olympic Games kind of hit, and I was like, maybe this is wasting time, maybe I could be doing something else, maybe it's distracting from my actual work, maybe I could be sleeping instead of editing videos. I went into a whole rabbit hole of things. But yeah, I wrote this, what I'm about to read basically right now. I wrote this on July 6th or July 7th, just to finalize what actually happened. So yeah, why would I be ranked in the top 32 in the world all up until the last couple of weeks of the whole thing? Why all that false hope as I saw it? Anyways, the past 2 months have been really busy, and yeah, they've come with a lot of challenges. So for those of you who have been here from the start of the videos, thank you for subscribing, thank you for being here, thanks for keeping up with me. And I'm actually very sorry I was not able to update you, because in this time, in the past 11 days, I've actually gotten some nice messages from friends I don't know where you've been. I've been trying to update myself, and they can't update any more than I put out videos. So anyways, let's go back to nationals in Cameroon. So nationals in Cameroon, where was I before Cameroon? I was in France training in the club that I've been a part of this year. Very awesome club. Things were going so well. I was looking forward to going to nationals, and got to nationals. That was a whole wahala in of itself. I posted those videos, so if you've kept up with me, you've seen those. Nationals in Cameroon did not go well. I feel like I got scammed, especially with measurements. African champs, I did not win, even though I literally planned to win it. It was my goal to win it, and it didn't go well. I didn't even make the podium. I went to France for one last chance to compete on June 30th, which is the closure day for the Olympics qualification, and the measurements were off, and I actually have videos to prove that the measurements were off. And then I competed again before the official closure of the world rankings, and I threw an all-time best. I threw a national record, and it did not count. My life.
Nora Money. Nora Money.
So for those of you that are brand new to the world of track and field, specifically the field events, specifically the throws, to qualify for the Olympic Games, there are a few ways, kind of like three ways to qualify for real. So basically you hit the automatic standard, which was 64.50 meters for this year's Olympic Games. The last Olympic Games was 62.50 meters. Number two, by world ranking. If you are the top 32 on the world ranking list, then you qualify. Now, there are some rules to that as well. If a country has 4 people that are all in the world ranking list, they only can take the 3. The third way to qualify for the Olympic Games, for some countries, like for instance, the USA or even France, I believe, Germany, stuff like that, you have to be top 3 at your Olympic trials. So my country doesn't do that, but those are the 3 main ways of qualifying for the Olympic Games. There's also a thing, if a country doesn't have anybody that qualified, they can select their 2 best athletes in whichever event to represent, and yeah, they can represent the country. Anyway, so nationals for my country, it's not necessarily the Olympic trials, but I went because it still gives you extra points if, let's let that car pass. Yeah, it still gives you extra points if you win it. So I went there knowing I was going to win it and knowing that I still had to throw far and able for those points to count like to my benefit, right? I'm the top ranked thrower in Cameroon, and the qualification system is all calculated like numerically. Oh yeah, and the world ranking qualification is all based off of your best 5 performances averaged out. So A caliber meet will give you higher points if you win. A B caliber meet will give you high points if you win as well, and C. And then after that, it's just like 15 to 20 points, even if you win and throw super far or whatever. Okay, boom. So we had nationals on June 8th in Douala, Cameroon. So they had us travel the day before and then stay in some bungalows, which I posted. It was very unethical, I think, because I've seen Cameroon do better. I've been part of teams where Cameroon does better, especially for its national athletes. So sleeping on bunk beds is not something I haven't done before at a championship meet. Sometimes they keep us in bunk beds. When we traveled to like the African Games, for instance, we stayed in bunk beds. Everybody that was at the African Games stayed in bunk beds. Other competitions, we stay in dorm rooms, college dorm rooms. So it wasn't the worst thing, but I'm sure it definitely played a role, considering. So yeah, the next day after traveling like 6 hours on a road trip from Yaoundé to Douala, I was scheduled to throw, and then some changes were made, and I was unaware of those changes made. I mentioned that in my video of nationals. But yeah, it was just a very ridiculous circumstance, especially because I'm the type of person that like plans out a lot of things. And yes, we plan, and there's always like a plan A, plan B, plan C, and we've had to go through with those plans, especially like throughout this year, because it's come with a lot of challenges. I am the type of person that needs some type of like stimulus before competitions, like weight room or a practice session even, just to get my body going. Like me traveling and then competing right after usually is not a good thing. So anyways, we traveled. I was scheduled to throw on the Saturday after we traveled. So we traveled Friday. I was scheduled to throw on Saturday. Got ready, was prepared to compete on this day, got to the meet, walked into the call room, and they were like, why are you here right now? You compete tomorrow. Mind you, the schedule I confirmed with the coaches of the federation said I was to compete at this time on Saturday, and they changed it. So the next day, I mentally prepared myself. The whole night, I was like, I'm resilient. It could be worse. I'm alive. I'm well. It's gonna be okay. Like, this is not the worst thing that could happen. Anyways, on the day of the comp, I had 6 valid legal throws, right? But somehow, 5 of those 6 throws were measured with almost the exact same measurement, 53 meters. 53 meters. Somehow. Okay, so first thing is, they literally had to measure with 2 different tape measurers and attach them together. Like, and I watched them do this, and there was no other option. Like, what else can you do? So I watched them do it. I left it in the hands of somebody else's addition, subtraction, you know, their calculation. But yeah, 53 meters on 4 or 5 different marks just didn't make sense. Some might think, you know, oh, how consistent. No, that is, no. If I'm throwing one to the center, one to the right, and they were not even like far away from each other either. Like they looked like they could have been actually landing in the same direction, but they were definitely much further. And I have like videos to prove of that. So it passed. I gained the 1,000 points, or the 100 extra points, because I won, and it was a national meet, so the caliber was A or B, something like that. So yeah, but adding 100 points to a 53-meter throw makes it basically equivalent to a 54-meter throw, not even a 55. So it doesn't change anything for me. It did not change anything for me on the road to Paris, right? So I was extremely sad. Excuse me. I was extremely sad. Very, 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 very sad. So yeah, the next day I went back to sleeping in the bungalows and went back to training. Some of y'all saw the video of our living conditions. Sometimes we had electricity, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes we had running water to shower, to flush a toilet. Sometimes we didn't. And sometimes we had water to drink in the cafeteria provided for meals. And sometimes we didn't. The conditions were just not sustainable for athletes. Like sometimes we were given one boiled egg at breakfast, not even 2 eggs. And I like to see the good things in every situation. I'm a Gemini, so I think I tend to see 2 different perspectives for every situation, basically. So the best thing about this situation was the stadium was right there in walking distance. Normally when I'm in Cameroon, it's a struggle to just find a place to throw. Like sometimes I have to throw in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes I throw on a track, like literally on a track into dirt, because I'm hardly ever allowed into a stadium or a stadium annex even, because yeah, they just don't allow it for whatever reason. So yeah, to be able to have a track in walking distance, a cafeteria in walking distance, even though the food was, you know, so-so, and then to be able to have a gym in walking distance, even though the gym was so-so, I still took the good in the situation. I made the best of it. I made sure every night, even in the bunk beds, I ended up putting like a wooden frame under my bunk bed because I had wires. I had wires underneath the bed, so like after sleeping there like for 2 nights, my back was blown out. But I found a piece of wood and I put it under the bed, and that kind of solved my back issues. But yeah, I made sure I got 8 hours of sleep every single night. I had my coach there, my technical advisor Matthew. I had him there like almost every session except for one. So he would be on FaceTime with me. I would be throwing at like 10 a.m. and it would be 9 p.m. his time in Australia or near Australia. Things were going well as far as like controlling what I can control. And as we approached the African Championships, I got sick. I don't know what it was. I had chills, I had flu-like symptoms, and my body was feeling weak. My body was feeling achy. Fatigue had come and like slapped me in the face. And this was like 5 days before the African Championships. So yeah, 1.5 weeks after Nationals, we had the African Championships. I'm coming off of an illness. And then the day before, I started my cycle too. So I just had a lot going on. But you know, it's still not the worst thing that could happen. Like, that's where my mind always goes. It's not the worst thing. I'm resilient. I'll be okay. My cycles are like typically manageable anyway, so I'm very thankful for that. But the illness was really kicking me. Like, even at the meet, I was like eating ginger at the meet, just to like calm my congestion a little bit. My energy was like super drained, but yeah, for me, rhythm is a really big part of my throw. So I had one last prep session in the morning, the day before the meet, and then all of a sudden, they transferred us from the bungalows to a hotel, which was a great thing for everybody else. But I didn't find it so great because we were on our feet and doing things and then traveling. It was like 30 of us in a bus that did not fit 30 people. And then we were stuck in traffic for a very long time before getting to the hotel. We got to the hotel was not prepared for us, did not give us food until like 10 p.m. And I was the only one on the team that had a final on the next day. So nobody else could really relate to my situation. So I didn't really complain about it. I just did my thing and yeah, prepared myself the best I could. I was thinking already, like, what's better, 8 hours of sleep or this meal? And I ended up choosing to eat that meal because in terms of like rejuvenating my energy, food was probably going to help me a bit more. I don't know. Well, I chose to eat anyways, and I still ended up sleeping like a decent amount of time. And yeah, just like that, the next day was the opening day for the African Championships, June 21st. The first day, like, people in the town weren't even aware that there was a major championships going on. African Championships is here. It's day one. The women's discus final is on day one. And the day of, I did not have an official uniform. I did not have transportation to the meet. Like, I didn't care really that much about the uniform. Like, I had my own uniform. I always carry a uniform with me, so I was good. The day of the event, I was about to take a taxi. The only reason I got lucky was because I found two people from Algeria that were about to head to the stadium. If not, I would have taken a taxi to a area championships in my home country. So anyways, I got to the meet, and I had like a nice little stretch out and I had like an hour to myself. So I just meditated, and it was like my first moment of peace and just alone time in a while. So I really appreciated that. I just found a locker room and I was just there like meditating before I warmed up, before I went to the call room, and prepared my mind to compete. One of the best things about that competition was that my family had come all the way from Bamenda. And if you know what's going on in Cameroon, it's not very easy to travel from this specific region of Cameroon. But yeah, they came, they sacrificed their time, they sacrificed so much just so that they could be there and be a part of that. So that was very special to me and a big blessing. Like, funniest thing is, like, they were probably one of, or some of the only people that were in the stadium at that time. Like, the stadium was basically empty other than them, and they made a lot of noise, and I really appreciated that a lot. Into the competition started off decent. I would say decent because my first throw was a 55-meter throw. Considering this is the same stadium that we threw, you know, at nationals in, I was already like, I don't know how far anything is at this point. Like, I don't know, maybe my depth perception is off, but the 55 literally felt like less effort than any of my throws at nationals before I was sick, before we stayed in the bungalows for 2.5 weeks malnourished, and before I had an illness. But anyways, my second throw, was maybe 57, 58, but I scratched it. It was big, but a big scratch as well. So after that, my third throw was a 55-meter throw. And my fourth throw, I'm not really sure. I'll just post the paper. And then yeah, my very last throw ended up being a 56.11, which was good for 4th place at the African Championships, which was not the goal at all. And like winning this meet would have really like solidified my position in the rankings, like for the road to Paris. It would have moved me up a lot, considering it's an area championship, 1st place, throwing a good distance, better than 56, because I knew I was gonna have to throw like 60 plus, or even a high 59 would have won the meet. So yeah, that didn't happen. After that, I was very down. I was very depressed. Yeah, so I got 4th place, which is of course not as many bonus points, but I still got a little bit of bonus points, and I believe it's actually on my top 5 for my ranking for Road to Paris. But yeah, it didn't move me up like I wanted to. So I was 36 at that point. There were other competitors competing the same weekend who threw better and threw further than I did. So my position actually got dropped down to 37. And like I said, top 32 in the world make it to the Olympic Games in Paris. So to help out its athletes, my federation had another meet on the schedule that would have been a great opportunity for other Africans in the area and Cameroonians who were in a similar position to me, like just on the cusp, like just below the ranking, but still there's a possibility like you can move up with one good performance. So there were others like me from Cameroon, about like 4 or 5 of us from Cameroon, who could have benefited from this, but the meet didn't happen. We had a like B or C level meet that was on the schedule and then taken off the schedule. So I ended up leaving maybe 2-3 days after the African Championships and headed to France. On World Athletics, it said that to hit the entry standard, which was 64.50, you had to make it in by sometime in like May, and then to make it in by world rankings, which I was basically trying to do, because yeah, I definitely didn't hit the standard in May. To get my world ranking position, the end date by world ranking was supposed to be on July 7th, as World Athletics said. Normally it's the 30th of June, which is the date more people kind of know. But anyways, I said I'm gonna take my chances and I'm still gonna go to France. I found a meet in France that was scheduled on the 30th. I said I'm gonna do everything in my power to go there and basically get this redemption from nationals and from the African Championships that didn't go so well. So I traveled from Douala to Yaoundé by bus, which was like 5-6 hours at night. So not the most comfortable situation, but I did it, caught some shut-eye on the way there, kept my bags closed and packed. Yeah, arrived there at night, slept during the day, and then that evening I went to the gym, did some drills in the gym because I'm not able to throw anywhere in Yaoundé, which really is unfortunate. And then I got in a taxi and headed to the airport. So I had my flight to France and I was supposed to compete the next day. So I traveled the 28th, I traveled again on the 29th, and then on the 30th, I arrived in France and was supposed to compete. Now, on the plane, like on the way to France, I did everything that I could on that plane. Like, if you were on that plane with me, you would have thought I was crazy. Like, I was using my Theragun, I was using my roller to roll out my feet. I stood up in the plane, I stretched. It's like a 7 or 8 hour flight, so I literally did the most I could, and respecting my body as well, just taking that time to kind of rest and recover. Because I had been sick, I had been training, you guys know. But yeah, reviewed some throws videos, walked around, stretched in the plane, did some drills in the plane. And yeah, I've really had to learn this year, like how my body reacts to travel, because that's a big part of the job. And I'm 27 right now. I don't know what's going on with my body, but for some reason I've been getting like swollen up on planes. Like my legs will swell up and my feet will be like all puffy. Even my face will be puffy after getting off of planes. If you have any advice for me on that, please let me know. But yeah, compression socks. I wore the compression socks. I elevated my feet. I sat in like a emergency or like a row with like leg space. So I put my feet on top of my suitcase. I got off the plane and I was actually feeling decent. This is probably the best I felt getting off the plane. Anyways, landed in Paris and I got on a bus. So it was a full day of travel. I'm telling you, like a full day of travel, full 3 days of travel, and then some workouts in between. So I landed in Paris, got on the bus and headed to where I stay in France, which is like 2 hours away from the Paris airport. And then I headed to the track immediately for a training session. So the morning of the competition, I had a little mini training session. Like I did like 6 throws, and just to make sure I was feeling good, my body was moving well as well. Like I had to open up my hips and kind of just do mobility and then throw a little bit, like a tiny little bit for rhythm purposes. And yeah, making sure I was feeling confident for this last performance. So I did that. We traveled again, like 2 hours to get to where the meet was in France. And I slept in the car like all the way there. And this meet specifically, this meet I will never forget. I will never in my life, the lesson I learned after this meet, I can never forget it. Whew. So this meet was June 30th, which is normally the last chance before the declaration period for athletes and tentative athletes end. I went there and I said, I'm gonna give it my all. It was sunny outside. The wind was decent. It was actually really good. Like I was like, oh, this disc is gonna go. I'm feeling good. All the energy that I've saved up, it's gonna all come out and be released into this distance, right? I got into the ring to check it out. The ring was slow like sandpaper. Good thing I had 2 pairs of shoes. I have 2 pairs of shoes, one that's kind of meant for faster rings and one that's meant for slower rings. So my first throw was a really, really bad throw and out to the left of the sector, and it was a 52. Like it didn't even feel like it could have been a 52. So I was like, okay, I can figure this out. Throwing is like a Rubik's Cube in my head. It's like a puzzle. So when things go this way, you just gotta rewire it and make sure they go this way. So yeah, first throw, 52, even though it felt like it could have been like a 30-meter throw. I went back for round 2 and I had a similar throw, and it was just it was not as bad as a 52, but it was also to the left sector. Like I was throwing to the left sector and it was going 53 meters, and it did not feel like 53 meters was very far for what I felt like I threw. So yeah, it was just choppy and sloppy, but I knew I could figure out, look back at the videos I was taking and make it better. So the following throws, brilliant, great release. I was like, yeah, I picked up my speed. I composed myself, stayed controlled. Like I stayed mentally focused, controlled, and it just ended up that the last 3 throws of the competition were almost like a complete deja vu of the nationals in Cameroon, where every throw was marked at 53. So tell me how I'm throwing to the left like boo-boo and it's going 53 meters like boo-boo, but when I actually line it up and throw it directly down the middle or directly to the like right sector where the actual measurements are placed, my 57 meter throws are measured at 53 meters. 53 meters. So yeah, the biggest lesson I learned was like, anytime I see a tape measurer present at a meet, I am not throwing straight down the middle, because if you consider the arc angle of something, okay, so the point down here is definitely going to be the same distance as the point up here, even though that doesn't make sense, right? But since it's an arc angle, if I throw here, basically where my 53 meter throw was, and I throw here, which looks like it's further, I'm wasting my time and my energy trying to do this. So I'm never doing that again. So that was my biggest lesson learned. Yeah, it was crazy because like after the meet, I spoke with the man that actually put out the measurements, and he was like, oh yeah, the measurements were off. So I'm like, why would you put the boxes at 50 meters, 55 meters, 60 meters, and 65 meters when they're a gauge for nothing. For nothing. If they're not accurate, why have them there? Why have them there? But anyways, my lesson was outside of that. And yeah, again, 53 meters is not going to help me, especially at a meet like this. Meet was an F meet, so I literally, it was already calculated. It had been calculated by Matthew. Like, I have to go out there and throw 61 or 60 meters to even try and get those extra points and win it too. So I ended up winning it. I ended up like winning a little bit of money from it too, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, that wasn't the goal. Like, money's not gonna help me at this point. I'm trying to make it to the Olympic Games. Like, money's not gonna help me. Anyways, yeah, it really didn't make sense to me. After this meet, I felt extremely defeated, extremely sad, because like, these things are like out of my control, and it felt like I had been cheated out of everything I had worked for at the last moment of everything. Like, in the last 3 weeks, my name just went from here to there, like just wiped out completely. I left the meet with a little bouquet of flowers, which I like flowers, so I guess I felt a little bit better like getting the flowers. But the real flowers for me were, like I said, the Olympic Games in Paris. I got a little check for like 175 euros or something like that, which is nice. I could definitely use the money. But yeah, still not the goal, not the goal. We traveled back like 2 hours. I got back home and I literally slept like 12 hours. That's when the exhaustion from the past 3 days of traveling, still trying to get to the gym, kind of being stressed out and everything, like the exhaustion just slapped me in the face, heavy. The next day I woke up from my 12-hour sleep. I took a walk, like just an hour walk into the city, and that is basically all I did for that day. And then came back home and prepared myself for another week of training, because like I said, the 30th is the day that everybody kind of knows, but World Athletics actually said that the ranking ends on the 7th. So I was like, okay, well, I have to find another meet and try my best. So I'm still gonna work hard this week and do my best to make something happen. Like, I'm working for a miracle here, but hey, I believe in a God of miracles, so that's what I was going for. So boom, that day that I went on the walk, I actually found a gym, got a membership at that gym. Monday, was it Monday? Yeah, back Monday, and I am having an outstanding week of training. Like, Monday through Wednesday was really great. I trained, I was able to have my virtual sessions on FaceTime. Yeah, the day of the meet came around. I had a light prehab session, woke up my body. We had another little travel. So we traveled about 2 hours by car. I massaged my feet again in the car all the way there. And then we finally showed up. And this time we kind of showed up to the meet late. But I had a 15-minute warm up like in my sleeve. Like, I know what to do in those situations, thankfully, just by experience. So I did my 15-minute warm up and I got ready to throw. This meet, oh my goodness. This one, the story of this meet actually is probably like the worst. This is the worst one to tell by far the worst one to tell. Okay, let's go. So while I was in my training session, so in my last training session before we got to this meet, the best advice my technical advisor Matthew could give me was stay relaxed, stay relaxed, stay relaxed. Like, basically, like it will happen. Don't worry about it. Stay relaxed, be fast, and I executed that exactly. So my first throw at this meet was a 55.46 meter throw. Throw number 2 was a 57. Throw number 3, a higher 57, so 57.36, 57.94. Then I had a not so good throw on the 4th round. Then I had another 55, and on my last throw, my very last throw of the competition, I threw a lifetime best 60 meters, .09. you know, you would think I'd be very excited, but like something was off here. So this is where the Wahala really started. The women were the first group of throwers to throw, right? So before the meet, they introduced us. They said, you know, we have a woman here from Cameroon. She has the Cameroonian national record, blah, blah, blah. We have a woman here from Belgium, a woman here from Morocco, who are also able to hit their national record. We have a woman from France. We have multiple people from France. And at these meets, you should know, anything can happen. Any one of these competitors can break a record. And if you are the one hosting the meet, you need to know that there is certain protocol after somebody hits a record, no matter where you're from, right? So yeah, the women were the first ones to throw. After I threw my personal best, right? I was not the last person to throw. They did not reorder us in the throwing like series. So I was like maybe fourth to last to throw. So there were still people after me. I did the PB, did my little, you know, fist pump arm race after I threw, got on my knees on the side, said a prayer, just thanking God for this breakthrough. Like left from the throwing area. Right, so after the comp, after all the other 3 women after me finished throwing, this man approached me. So he approached me and he was like, oh yeah, congratulations, félicitations, c'est votre personal best. I was like, oui, c'est mon personal best. J'ai lancé 60 mètres pour la première fois, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he was basically like, congratulations, was that a personal best? I said, yeah, it's a personal best. I just threw 60 for the first time. And his face was not a face of excitement. It was a face of like, oh, aren't you the person that has a national record? So if you have the national record, that means your personal best is also a national record. That means they did something they failed to do something that they were supposed to do. So the look on his face was not of like, oh, congrats. Like it was like, nah, we messed up. And I gotta tell somebody else. So normally the protocol after you throw a national record, no matter where you are at in the world, the protocol is you measure it once with your normal tape, you measure it again with a metal tape, if you have that, or a secondary tape in general, and then you have to take the discus that I threw the record with and weigh it and make sure it is of the standard, one kilogram. They did not do any of that. Moments after, I got on like World Athletics and I tried to look up like the caliber of this meet. Like I came to the meet knowing that this meet was an F meet. So it was on the World Athletics calendar all up until the day that we arrived there. For some reason, it was like nowhere to be found again on the World Athletics calendar. And mind you, all of these things are calculated. F meet, which I thought was the last level. Like I thought even if you had a backyard meet, it had to be ranked F. I was wrong. There are meets that are even like FB, or F2, sorry, F2. I've been to an F2 meet now, and yeah, I learned like the whole month has been part of learning experiences, and it's not over yet. I still have another story to come. But anyways, let's finish with this one. So 60 meters at a meet that was not even ranked in F means that I don't get any points for throwing 60 meters. It's like it never happened. The national record for Cameroon cannot be justified because it's not on the World Athletics calendar unless my federation chooses to do so, which they did, thankfully, like a couple of days later. But yeah, it doesn't show up on my World Athletics ranking. It doesn't count for the Road to Paris, nor does it count for the Road to Tokyo, which is basically what's next for us like competing athletes. But yeah, it was more than heartbreaking. Like I don't even know how I felt. I don't know how I made it through. I was supposed to throw a shot put after the discus and I literally could not. Like I had no more energy. I could not. I wanted to leave. Thankfully I was surrounded by, you know, other throwers that were nice and cheerful and One of them even helped me like translate better, because my French is decent, but sometimes I don't understand like technical terms and stuff like that and advanced vocabulary. Not yet, but I'm getting there. But yeah, I had a nice woman there translating for me, who also broke a PB. So she was also trying to figure out like, well, does it count for her as well? I don't even understand why they would have a meet that doesn't count for anything. People are not trying to just go and throw and waste their time. Another thing that really got me was that they basically made an example of me. Like I said, the women threw first and the men threw after. Mind you, for the women, they didn't have the extra tape that they were supposed to have, and they didn't have a scale like ready. Like they had one in the equipment room, but they didn't have a scale ready to measure the disc. Now I have a teammate in my same club who's from Burkina Faso. He threw a personal best, and I believe it was a national record for him. And all of a sudden they had a tape measure, a second tape measurer. All of a sudden they marked the position that the discus landed, and they kept it in the ground, and all of a sudden they had a weight, a scale to measure his disc. So from that meet especially, like I felt like I was used. I felt like they made an example of me, which hurts. But I guess it had to be me. It had to be me. Maybe it couldn't have been somebody else. So yeah, that was July 6th. Mind you, I thought like after this day, I'm gonna be solidified. I'm gonna be in, I'm gonna be able to rest and recover and prepare my mind for what's next. And hopefully that will be in Paris. Like the next competition will be the Olympic Games. Like that's what my mind was set on. So after that meet, finding out that it counted for nothing, basically, I had to get online and try to find another meet. So I actually found one. And then with the help of my club, I was able to register. And with all the lessons I've learned, of course, we made sure that this meet was on the World Athletics calendar. And there were only two in France. There was this one in a place called Lens, which is on the border of Belgium. And then there was a meet in Paris, which was a Diamond League meet. So they actually tried to enter me in both. Obviously, they couldn't get me into the Diamond League meet like a day before, but they were able to like get me into the meet that was, what, 4.5 hours away. So boom. So I got home, got on the computer, registered for the meet, found a rental car that I was going to be able to take the next day, looked up like the bus schedule for that day and everything. Well, I packed my bag and then I slept for like 5 hours. Then I left early in the morning, like 6:15. I was out the door, headed to another city in like an hour away from us by Uber. So I spent like, what, $130 on an Uber to go get this rental car. Then I got the rental car, ended up getting the car and then driving basically a whole road trip to the meet that I got into. So now this meet that I got to was an E or F meet. This was an F meet, a legitimate F meet. So anything I did here was going to count. And that was for sure. It was on the World Athletics meet and still there even the day before. So I knew, okay, well, if I did the 60 yesterday, maybe I still have it in me to do it again. So I got to the meet and I couldn't even fake it to myself at this point. Like I was exhausted. I don't even remember driving some parts of the way to get to the meet. Yeah, I got to the meet. I was able to check in my implements. I had ample time to be there to chill. But since the meet was like one of those meets that kind of like roll back into each other, I really didn't know when I was going to throw. And then they were by age groups too. So I thought I was going to throw at like 2 p.m. So once I got there at like 11, there was a gym at the facility. So I went in there, did my mobility session, and then went to the track, put my legs up and just rested and kind of observed like what was going on. So like I can know when to warm up. I can be ready and prepared for my last chance, right? So finally did my warm up. We finally threw at like maybe 5:30, almost 6 p.m. And I was expecting to throw at 2. So I was just chilling outside under my umbrella. tried my best. I might as well keep the video rolling. Like, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find more, which is upsetting, but I know I tried my best. So, oh, so many lessons learned this year. Let me let that finish. I don't think that I will actually qualify for Olympic Games this year, especially because of how today ended, unless a miracle happens with the federations and they don't select whoever is in between number 32 and number 38, where I am right now. So a miracle could happen. However, my distances didn't push that miracle to happen. So it is what it is. I keep going, I keep working. And to know that I could throw 57 dead tired is a good sign. So on to the next. On to the next. Considering how I felt, I already knew I was going to have to put all of my energy into my first throw. And I did that. I executed that successfully. However, it was not as far as I would have liked. I threw 57 on my first throw. The second throw after that was less than 50 meters. So I knew I was gassed out completely. And I finally built back my energy and stamina, and this is my last throw right now, which was also a 57-meter throw. So two 57-meter throws after a long day of travel, and after a day where I actually had some season bests and a personal best at the end. I drove back home that same night after the meet, and then took a day and a half off, a full day and a half off, just so I can rest and recover, and took it easy. And then on Wednesday, when I got back into the gym, I actually had an injury. So I'm not sure how bad it is, but I have a meet coming up in Italy. So yeah, here I am taking a break. I am in Italy. I'm actually here because I was invited to come to a competition. So I didn't know how bad the injury was whenever it happened in the gym. So I still traveled. And I'm supposed to compete on the 21st here in Italy. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to compete, to be honest, because of the way it's feeling. It's been swollen and irritated, and adduction, like closing my legs together, hurts a lot. And that's like the main part of the throw, or one of the main parts of the throw. Like, you got to adduct your legs like crazy. But yeah, I am glad that I got this video out in the air, in the open. It's public now. It's my reality. It sucks. It really sucks, but I will be okay. And I believe that God still has a plan for me. God still has a plan for my life. And I feel like in some regard, like, maybe this is like a whole different like spiritual thing that I've been like dealing with, but maybe I was like idolizing the Olympic Games a little bit. Maybe I was, maybe God did not give it to me because of that. And I kind of learned that it was like in May where I kind of thought about that and was like, what if I don't make it to the Olympic Games? What if I don't try to make it to the Olympic Games? Like, what if that's not a goal at all? What is my motivation then? I had to really have a talk with myself about that. I don't know. I really don't know. I am full of questions and thoughts, and I'm very thankful that I'm a Gemini and I'm able to think in two different ways. I'm still very sad. Now I'm injured. I can't even work out, which is a like huge stress reliever. I've been like doing arms in the gym and swimming for the past couple of days, and went to the doctor yesterday, and they just told me I need to rest. So yeah, things literally just happen for a reason, and I go with the flow. Like, that's the type of person I am. I go with the flow anyways. So yeah, I'm here. I will be in France for the Olympic Games. I'm still gonna go and support the people that I know, the people that I've been competing with, the people I've made friends with on this journey, not only this year, but in previous years. So I think it'll still be really great that I get to be there and I get to support them, even though I won't be competing with them. So yeah, everything happens for a reason and everything in its own time. I don't know what's coming next on my YouTube channel, but thank you guys for being a witness to all the happenings of this year. This was the journey to the Olympic Games, and the Olympic Games is unfortunately not part of my reality for 2024. But I do still appreciate the encouragement and the support from all of you guys watching. So thank you, and catch you in the next video. Peace. Bye. Ciao for now.